Good morning, or whatever time it is for you. As you can see, it's 10:53 in the morning here. So this is the first of my Funda analysis, trying to help spread what the hell is going on in the real estate industry. How much propaganda and just lies are being spread by entities, particularly Makelaars, real estate agents, Hypotheeks, the mortgage advisors, NVM, which is the National Vereniging of Makelaars, which is basically like the National Association of Realtors in the United States, and Funda. Funda is also in on the nonsense. And Funda is if you don't know, because you don't live here in the Netherlands or you haven't ever looked for a house before, somehow you've avoided this. Funda is like the major real estate listing site in the Netherlands. Almost everything that's publicly available ends up on here. So here I have pulled up Rijswijk. This is just near The Hague. It's near the sea. It's in the middle of Zuid-Holland, so it's quite a central location. This is where I would like to live. You get some Funda data. So this is data pulled out of Funda. Down here, you do have some other things, like this is from the Central Bureau of Statistics, but they kind of give you, your neighborhood thing, because you always need to look at your local area. You need to look at your comps, even the nearby neighborhoods. What is Delft going at? What is like Voorburg, Leidschendam? What is Gravenhaag or The Hague looking like over here? But right now we're just going to zoom in on here. And I think one of the most interesting things that absolutely everyone trying to buy a house in the Netherlands needs to keep in mind right now, because this is new. I've been watching the market for give or take 2 years. And this is brand new, that the houses are not just going on the market and selling really quickly. Although if you look at the Funda data, it looks like it's about 3 weeks, right? Give or take, that houses are going to market and they're finding the buyer. And it looks like it's been trending down, except for it was, May, June, July, this trend began. But it really heated up here in August, which is why I'm not surprised, that it's dropped from 27, 26 days here. And even showing this, the overall, I guess, is 25. But this is totally fabricated data manipulation, which I've been reporting to Funda, but I don't know if they're ever going to do anything about it. But here's an example. House in Rijswijk. This one's pretty small. It's decent. This is not your yard, by the way. You look at this from a balcony. This is what's called a bovenwoning, or the house above, the top house. So this one looks like it was listed at 319. And if you look at just what the public sees on Funda, you're going to see that this has been available online for 4 weeks. However, this tool is what you need if you can get it, and Google, and yeah, it's been hard to get this plugin lately, let's just say. This shows you past history. As long as it was logged into Funda, it'll pull it up. So sometimes there's things that are missing, like sales and stuff, because you can scroll down, you can see the taxation value year over year. So anyone who's not familiar with the Dutch market, you can see that this house would have cost $138,000 in 2015. I see no listed sales, so it's possible that this individual had bought the house for less than this, maybe even. And now here it was for sale 319, but this was the initial listing, October 19th. That's a couple months ago. There was a price drop. That's not registered in here. It should say oorspronkelijk vraagprijs, which is the original sale price. But here they didn't change, that the price had changed. And in this 4 weeks, they've dropped off, a solid month and a half of the time. So then when you're going to look at your comps, you might see this. But if you don't have Betrap de Makelaar, this is called, you're not seeing this. And so that's really important when you go to look at this, your whole neighborhood, and you're looking at how long that house has sat on the market. But that house will soon, assuming that it goes through. Right now it's under offer, so it'll have to go verkocht onder voorbehoud, which in American terms is under escrow, and then it'll show verkocht, or sold. And that's the moment where everything will be finalized and transferred over into the average for here. But when that happens, it's going to say that it went in 4 weeks. So that's 4 weeks is slightly higher than 25 days, right? But it's not going to say the 2.5 months. And I mean here's 40, 20. Let's call that like 60, give or take. So 2.5 months added on to the 4 weeks. Like you're like up here, for that house. But it's going to get registered as down here. So you can tell that these averages, the Funda data, is crap. Total crap. And this is not just this house. This is just one that I happen to pull up as an example. There's a lot of houses, and there wasn't this relisting stuff in 2022. This did not happen in 2023. Houses hit the market at higher prices, boom, sold within 2 to 3 weeks. It was almost impossible to get viewings, so tight. But now this kind of delisting, relisting, changing the prices, hiding it, unless you have this plug-in by the homies here, real estate agents, but they put this together, let's say that. You're not going to have a realistic perspective. And so, you know, this is really helpful data if it's accurate, but it's super flawed. And it's crazy, the surface level, you know, you get these other questions down here. How many of all these things are there? How many houses are there for sale in the Rijswijk? So you get that there's 213. How many are for sale under 325,000 euros? You get 84. So, you know, just a little bit over a third of the market is in that price range, which this house that I showed you fell into, right, at 319. And then here, you know, what's the average house price in Rijswijk? You get is 349, which is actually considerably lower, about 120,000, give or take, lower than the average for the entirety of the Netherlands. And then here you have the price per square meter. And mind you, I mean, in 2022, this was like 27.50 or something like that. And I remember when it went over 3,000, it was like, what is going on? And then it very quickly went to 32, 33, 34, and just boofed all the way up to here. And Rijswijk is actually, in that sense, for South Holland, a pretty cheap area. But this one's crazy because this one says, are there also new houses to buy in Rijswijk? So, you know, just the way that it's said, not new bow starter projects that will be available in the future. It says this, and you'll hear this lie. Oh my God, the Rabobank analysis, they love this lie. The news media loves this lie. The Makelaars love this lie. The Hypotheeks love this lie. You know, they basically say, well, the thing is, we're not building enough houses fast enough. We have a shortage of 400,000 homes, and so the real estate crisis in the Netherlands is very simple. It is supply and demand. We don't have enough supply. We can't build houses fast enough. They're completely ignoring the amount of registration fraud. People who claim that they're the owner-occupier of a house, and they are not the owner-occupier of a house. They're renting it out, and they're trying to avoid some type of regulation. Now with the new taxes, they're trying to avoid the taxes. So there's fraud on all these different levels of the statistics that banks in their risk analysis, that the government is using. But anyways, they say things like, yeah, basically we can't build enough houses. So, you know, a smart person, rather than just going, oh, well, we can't build enough houses, it's supply and demand, blah, 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 would then, you know, look at their local area where they're trying to buy, and they would say, what is the comp? What is happening here? And when you do that, man, do you get a different story. So looking on here, it says, yeah, for sure, in Rijswijk, there are 5 new houses that you can buy. So if you then like go and click on that, right? Let's say that you go through to that. They'll show you the 5 new houses you can buy. But they've like uploaded special filters for you that you might not notice. That it's not just new houses, it's projects. Okay, so what if projects aren't built yet? What if we wanted to know, are there new houses for sale right now in Rijswijk? Okay, boom. Oh, is there 5 or are there 69? So what you'll see here is really interesting. This is the beschikbaar here. Oops, I want to take off the onderhandeling actually. So there's 53 that are available without being under offer or an escrow. Beschikbaar, onderhandeling is under offer or an escrow. Verkocht is sold houses, just in case you don't understand Dutch. So in here, the ones that are available are like reasonably priced on the surface until you look at, you know, how many square meters you get. Excellent energy rating, but this is a really high price per square meter. This is what, you know, falls closer within the borrowing capability of the average earner in the Netherlands. But these aren't going anywhere. Yeah, these are going absolutely nowhere. And if you do this, you can see, you know, these have been for sale for like some of them almost 2 years on this higher end of the spectrum. You've got 5 months here. Now you've got 2 months. So this is like 2 months that this one didn't sell. And now you started getting the ones that are closer into affordability for 6 weeks. But if the average sale time in the area is 26 days, 6 weeks is quite a bit more than that. That's double that these are sitting on the market. And so these are like a little more mid-range, but still out of reach for most people in the 5s and 600s. But you got like 4 pages of these, of houses that are built, that are ready, that are not getting sold. And it's the price points. They're just for 43 square meters, even if someone can afford 207,000, like you're living in a shoebox, right? So yeah, not reading the room, high price points. It feels, when you look at this, like they could just keep building new ones and it wouldn't really matter because it's not adding supply that the demand can absorb, right? So it's not that simple. You just have to have a brain and know how to think, and also not be lying to people, because you're cutting children and their future short. This is taking out of families. This is taking out of money that your average, Jan and Marika have to go and spend in other businesses so that they can earn. And what gets really interesting is you go, okay, well, these ones, a lot of them, especially the lower price points, they're only out for a couple of weeks, so they're already, just past that gemiddeld verkooptijd. But what's really interesting is, so few, and the verkocht rides, I think, a 2-year spectrum. So few have been sold. And granted, it took a while for some to hit the market, but if you go and you look at these, all the ones that sold are on the higher price point. These are someone who had equity and they were swinging. This is not starters. This is not something, these numbers is not something that the average salary, even combined couple salaries, is even close to affording here in the Netherlands. So all the ones that sold are quite expensive, and someone was equity switching, So this is the demand for that type of house at these price points. It's super low. There's a lot more still for sale than has sold. And it's also very interesting when you look at the timing. This one that recently closed, it took 19 months for that one to close, which is considerably longer than 26 days. This one here, 8.5 months, also one of the big expensive ones. This one took 17.5 months. It closed just a few months ago in 2024, but it was listed for quite a long time. So it seems like they can build these houses and make them available, but it doesn't mean anyone's going to buy it all that quickly. Sometimes they did go, a little bit faster, but still, this is more than double the gemiddeld. So this idea that the demand can somehow be saturated when there are new builds just is so out of touch with the market, right? Another one, 5.5 months. You'd think if there was so much pent-up demand for the new builds that the moment that they go available in May, maybe by July or August, yeah, they would have someone, right, that they would get soaked up. But no, it took 5.5 months. So this was the case for like a lot of these new BOWs when there was very few of them on the market, high energy labels, expensive, but they were taking months and months to close out. Now, as that trend continues, it does start to slow down a little bit. As you get here, there's a couple, but this was also, a long time ago. There's nothing this recent that closed out that fast. They went a bit faster. 8 weeks. 6 weeks. But those are super far from the norm. And if you were just like, I started this whole project, you were just trying to look at your comps, you would see all of this nonsense that creates that noise saying that there's a short listing time. And you would see, oh, we, have a supply and demand problem, blah, 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 supply and demand problem. And then they'll even on the front face of the page, if I can get back to it, on the front face of the page, they'll just tell you that there's only 5. They are not going to tell you that all you have to do to see are there really 5 is switch off anything that's under offer. take off the projects. And they literally shorted you. They gave you a spectrum of 10% of what's there. Because it keeps their narrative going. So when you hear them saying all this supply demand stuff, it's really helpful to just think that there is fraud. And honestly, I highly suggest trying to find a way in the Google Chrome store, if you were lucky, to get the Betrop the Makelaar. Because, I mean, just even seeing the VOZ, verschrikkelijkheid, for lack of a better word, insanity, let's call it, craziness, what the fuckedness. You also get vraag prices. And if the house has been listed in previous years, this will show up. If it's gone under offer in previous years, verkocht, it won't tell you the final sale price, but you can, you can guess within a margin of error where everything's sat, and those will just appear, wherever they were in the house's history. So anyways, yeah, I honestly sit here and I'm just so upset about these things all the time that I had to show people so they can stop being duped. And why don't we all bring our housing costs down so we have more money to spend in other areas of the economy, investing in ourselves, investing in our experiences, our friends, maybe working less for some people, saving more for retirement, whatever it is. You shouldn't be dumping your income into houses just because someone says that you can, yeah, this house, realistically, I would peg, if there wasn't VOZ fraud, somewhere around like 260, 265 maybe would be the real value. Yeah, without all of the fraud. Because, mind you, that they've been just raising the price and raising the price and raising the price. And it was never actually because the value of this property increased. I mean, it's not that amazing inside. It was just because you could borrow more. That's the reason the prices came up. Because the moment that anyone saw income gains, the hypothek said, cool, we can capture it. Let's lock it in as a percentage commission. Our salaries will go up. The real estate agent said, oh, yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's sell low volume at high prices, ignoring the fact that even if you were to spend the 319, assuming there's no overbidding, in a 30-year mortgage at the low 3% where we're at right now, for this one, you could maybe get like a 317 on a 5-year National Nederland, or on a 10-year, you could probably edge out like a 327%. You're going to pay somewhere between 600 and 700,000 euros over 30 years for this. So the ratio that you would pay, and the cash liquidity that you would have every month, and the decisions that you could make, and the freedom that you would have from that, doesn't excuse the prices going up. And then as the prices and the sales have gone up, the government has also raised the VOZs pretty significantly. There's just big jumps in some places where this house isn't even that crazy. I've seen some just take off where it would be like 209 to like 310 or something crazy like that. But yeah, it's just been jumping. And mind you, the government has no incentive to fix this because they're getting property tax at a ratio, right? It's a percentage. So if in 2015 they were, taxing you 138, well, 138 times 2 brings you, you're just under it here. So from 2015 to 2024, in terms of property tax, the government has doubled how much they're getting from this house. And if you apply that same rate of increase to, something like the entirety, if I can get the map, the entirety of Rijswijk, all of the houses in total in Rijswijk, you'll realize that just this one gemeente that only has so many people living in it, just under 60,000 listed. They've doubled, let's say half of that, roughly, let's call it 30,000 houses that are getting taxed, doubled. That's like as if you had doubled the number of houses. So anyways, I hope that that's clear, that the government has literally not only zero, but legitimate double negative interest in stopping this number from happening, because it's better than this number for them. And this is just some of that cheap borrowing, cheap lending during the pandemic, high speculation, the will, I would say, to enslave the Dutch population into being endless renters, and never owning capital and never being able to get ahead. It's really an amalgam of things. And what I hope that this shows, at least, this is a bit lengthy, I kind of jumped around a few places, is that the housing crisis in the Netherlands cannot be boiled down as the mantra from the agents and the mortgage advisors and the NVM and the Funda data and the Rabobank analysis. God, that's honestly like the most out of this world thing I've ever heard of. That they keep saying it's supply and demand, it's simple. It's supply, it's demand, it's simple. Like, let's just take a moment to appreciate that you are probably a layman, as I am in this sense. I'm not a real estate industry expert, but I know how to look at data and I know how to sort through it and make sense of it, because that is very much related to my profession. But these people who are telling you this narrative that it's simple are the people who are supposed to be the trained experts. And I think there's way too much reliance on the assumptions of the argument of authority and not really questioning, are there individual and personal conflicts of interest that have bled themselves into this person's professional role as a sort of safekeeper of the marketplace. And I think through a couple of videos like this, I will show you different examples, because there is so much going on in this market. But really, for buyers and even sellers, don't buy the hype, because as a seller, you might be looking at all this equity that you've stacked up. But if you're going to swing into something that's super expensive and you have to make someone pay double your payments just to grab that, like, how is that even helpful for you? Because if your house, keep this in mind, if your house sold for less money, that's also a sign that you can buy something better for less money, which ultimately, by the time it goes down on paper for you, your financing is going to be better. The amount you're going to pay for your asset management costs over the lifetime are going to be better. Your property taxes are going to be lower. You're going to have more liquid cash income. You having more liquid cash income will circulate small money exchanges throughout the economy, giving others the opportunity to play. So, if you're sitting there saying, oh, but I want my house to have gone from 138,000 to 273. Yeah, you have to live somewhere. So whatever you're buying with this, is it one of these new builds or just something higher up the market, more space, has a yard? I don't know what it is. It's also at one of these hyperinflated prices, and you're stepping in at that like peak on the market. If you want to sell high now, that you're also going to probably, for most people, have to buy high now. And yeah, short term, long term, and for yourself and for everyone else, it's just kind of stupid, and the only people selling it to you are the people who swing in and out of that transaction immediately, whilst you and everyone else is left with like a 30-year note of indentured servitude to the bank that is called a mortgage. So anyone acting on a commission or a fee, whether it's an appraiser, a notary, a hypotheek, a makelaar, they're like, yeah, sure, do crazy stuff, pay us the fee, pay us the commissions, break us off a piece, you deal with the debt later. And they're letting the whole economy deal with the debt later. And I can think of no better way for the Netherlands to shoot itself in the leg than the way that it has been, particularly since 2015, 2016, started getting crazy in 2018, 19, boom, pandemic hit. The prices have just gone through the roof and off the charts. So if you think that everything is crazy, it is, because they're fucking, pardon my French, they're fucking lying to you. They're lying to you. And I think collectively the house buyers in the Netherlands and even the house sellers, they need to call bullshit. Because if you don't call the bullshit, the floor is essentially the ceiling. And if you try to take the floor over the ceiling, then the roof is going to crash down through the floor eventually. You know what I'm saying? So it's honestly better to just stop doing stupid shit, stop doing fraud, clean it up, let there be a minor correction rather than going, oh, the market's crazy, and then causing it to collapse. Because it hits the banks too, right? It hits the banks, it hits the life savings of people. And no one has the right to bankrupt other people and force them into this kind of slavery at these exponential levels, right? The duplication of the extent, all of the asset management costs, whether it's your property taxes or it's your insurance, everything kind of like hinges upon these housing values. So yeah, maybe we should all download this little thing and sanity check the metrics. And if you hear a real estate agent say, oh, the market's crazy, tell them, well, what about all those relists? What about all those delists? What about all those price changes? And why are you afraid to let the public know about them unless you're trying to hide something to enrich yourself? So, signing off. Have a beautiful, beautiful new year.